Today, we are diving deep into a really powerful framework for relationships, all based on the ideas in The Divine Feminine Key, a guide to kingdom partnership. You know, it feels like everywhere you turn online, there's this constant battle of the sexes going on. And this quote really hits on that frustration, right? That feeling that partnership has turned into some kind of competition instead of a real connection. But what if there's a totally different way to look at it?
And that leads us to this really fundamental question. What if the whole point of a partnership wasn't just about your own personal happiness, but about being on a shared, profound mission together? To help us unpack this idea, we're going to use a simple but really powerful metaphor, a lock and a key. Just think of the lock as the ultimate goal we're trying to reach, and the key as the specific way we're going to unlock it.
So let's start with the lock. This is our destination, the main goal of this whole framework. And it's defined as something called a kingdom marriage.
So what does kingdom marriage actually mean? Well, according to this framework, it's a union where two people make a conscious choice to place their relationship under a higher authority. Their purpose together is bigger than just personal fulfillment. It's about working on a shared spiritual mission right here on Earth. This comparison really makes the whole idea click. On one side, you've got your typical contract relationship. It's mostly focused on personal pleasure, and it's based on a simple agreement. But on the other side, you have a covenant marriage. Here, the focus completely shifts to purpose and mission, and the foundation isn't just an agreement, it's a sacred, unbreakable bond. It's moving from asking, what am I getting out of this, to what can we build together?
Okay, so if the kingdom marriage is the lock, then what's the key? Well, this framework suggests that the key is a concept known as the divine feminine, a specific kind of energy that helps a partnership unlock its highest potential.
Now, this key is described as a receptive, nurturing energy. And the source material is very, very clear on this. This isn't about one energy being better or worse than the other. Not at all. It's about two equal complementary forces that are designed to perfectly balance each other out and create harmony.
This divine feminine energy is then broken down into 4 key qualities: the power of influence, something called radiance and softness, the role of a spiritual gatekeeper, and the ability to receive with grace. Let's take a closer look at what each of these really means.
Now, it's really important we get this one right. The idea of softness here is explicitly defined not as weakness, but as strength under control. The idea is that this controlled strength is what creates a safe, welcoming, emotional harbor for your partner, and that is a source of incredible power in the relationship.
So how does this key actually work in the real world? Well, one of the most powerful ways it's applied comes from completely redefining a single word. A word that, let's be honest, carries a lot of baggage: helper.
The source for this big reframe comes from the original Hebrew word used in the Bible, ezer. It's pronounced ezer, and while it's often translated as help, its real root implies something so much stronger. It's about rescuing, about providing vital, absolutely indispensable support, and crucially, it has zero implication of being in a subordinate role. To really get the power behind this word, consider this. The term ezer is used 21 times in the Hebrew Bible, and get this, in 16 of those times, it's used to describe God as the helper of humanity. The argument here is pretty clear. If this word is powerful enough to describe a divine being, there's no way it just means a simple assistant. And when you see it side by side, the difference is just massive. The traditional view of a helper might make you think of a subordinate, an assistant, but this reclaimed view of ezer completely flips that on its head. It transforms the idea of a partner into a strong ally, a necessary counterpart, and even a vital rescuer on that shared mission. The source material points to some amazing historical examples of this ezer role in action. You have figures like Queen Esther, who used her strategic wisdom to literally save an entire nation, or Abigail, who used incredible discernment to prevent a war. And of course, Ruth, whose story is just a masterclass in loyalty and partnership. These were not passive assistants. These were decisive, powerful allies.
Okay, so we've covered the theory, but how does all this stuff actually translate into our daily lives, especially for busy professionals who are trying to balance ambitious goals with a partnership? Let's get into the practical side of things.
It really boils down to cultivating a few daily habits. First, cultivating inner beauty, which just means prioritizing your own spiritual and personal growth. Then, creating emotional flow. That's all about leaning into your intuition instead of being stuck in a constant hustle mode. Third is nurturing that spiritual connection, seeing practices like prayer as a form of protection. And finally, fostering a cycle of generosity by practicing how to receive with grace, which keeps the good energy flowing in the partnership.
And that leaves us with one last really powerful question to chew on. Regardless of your personal beliefs, it's a fascinating thought experiment. How might viewing your relationship not just as a source of happiness, but as a shared assignment? How might that change absolutely everything about the way you and your partners show up for each other, support each other, and face whatever comes your way?